All right, it's time for the last list of the year, even though it's 2023, whatever. Guys, this is the top 25 best albums that I heard in rock or metal for the year 2022. Going into this list, you know, I usually have my number one figured out pretty easily, but this is the first year where I had a really hard time figuring out my top 10. So with that being said, I just hope that with this list, you find something new. You know, these are obviously my opinions, so I can't really help the way that I feel about music. If you're disappointed by the list, can't really help it. I just hope that you find a new band or song through these videos. That's what's important to me. That being said, I think that's all we need for chit chat, right? So let's fucking do it.
Stupid fuck! Run until the lungs give up. Take your breath if you need it. Take your breath if you need it. Come on, another fucking king.
Okay, my number 10 is a very unique album. It goes from being really soft to really intense. There's no real middle ground with this, but when it's beautiful, it's like post-rock, post-metal elements, and it's very atmospheric and just dreamlike. But when it gets intense, it's just so raw and aggressive. This is Rolo Tomassi, Where Myth Becomes Memory. This is a post-hardcore mathcore band that is also post-rock, very unique sounding. Vocals are just, again, dreamlike, and the guitars get really down-tuned and heavy when they need to, but the song structures are very progressive at times. If you're into post-rock elements, bands like Sigur Rós, but also Dillinger Escape Plan and Converge, then this is definitely worth your time, and this is why it's number 10. Number 9 is for a band that is keeping that southern mathcore, metalcore alive that was introduced by bands like Every Time I Die and Old Norma Jean. I'm talking about Grayhaven, This Bright and Beautiful World. Why this album is so high up is because not only are they taking elements of what made those bands so special, like Every Time I Die, but it's also modernizing it with, you know, of course, modern production, but very, very cool structures. So each song has its own distinct style. It goes from, like, you know, there's radio rock songs, the songs that are a little bit more catchy, the songs that are a little bit more intense. But each song just has so many surprising moments that on repeated listens, you still get shocked by the song's directions. But amazing guitar work, extremely catchy vocals, and it's just a fun but exciting kind of listen. All right, number 8 is for a band that is keeping that old post-hardcore sound from like old Under Oath and like From First to Last, From Autumn to Ashes, whatever. But these guys just do it so well. Holy crap. I'm talking about Static Dress, Rouge Carpet Disaster. This album is so good, just like Grayhaven, when there's so many surprises within each song, and each song is distinct too. Marisol is like the slow ballad track, and it just feels so huge and emotional. It almost sounds like a 90s rock song. There's stuff that just sounds like very classic, but also sounds modern too. It's got a unique production mix too, where it's a little bit raw sounding, which I appreciate. Honestly, from instrumentation, from energy, from breakdowns, from vocals and hooks, this is just a really, really good record. And if you like the old post-hardcore stuff and reminiscing and wanting it back, you need to hear this record. Number 7 is for the part of me that's really nerdy and also having a guitar background. I just absolutely adore this record. It is my favorite instrumental record of the year, and it's so technical, but as a whole piece, I'm so enthralled into it because it sounds so unique and weird, but it's also has enough repetition to keep me interested. I'm talking about Animals as Leaders, Parrhesia. This album is just complete wizardry on instruments. Like the stuff that's happening, I can't even understand some of the stuff that's happening in terms of instrumentation, and I think that's why I'm so pulled. But there's enough repetition, there's enough melody to keep me engaged, but there is so much nuance in the technicality that also just makes me want to pick it apart. I have such an interesting time listening to this record, and as a whole piece, I find it very cohesive and digestible, and that's why I love this record so much. Number 6 goes to a band that a lot of you guys seem to really like, and I think that's really sick because these guys honestly deserve it. What they are just like a metalcore band that captures the old energy from 2000s metalcore, and with just tons of riffs, tons of breakdowns, just so much energy packed into each song, and I'm talking about Boundaries, Burying Brightness. This record is just so entertaining and it's surprising. It goes from being extremely heavy to just ridiculously fast, and they make breakdowns and riffs so fun because they jam so much riffage into each song that it just makes it unpredictable, but such a fun listen. This is a great gym album too. I love this band and I love what they're doing, and this record is just another good record from them.
Go, conquer, destroy, dismember! Is this how
Number 5 is an interesting pick because I think people who are my age tend to really appreciate this sound. If you're a little bit younger, it might seem a little bit slow and dull, and I think that maybe I'm slow and dull. Maybe that's why I like it. Seriously, it's like almost stoner rock. It's slow, but it's also so beautiful at times. This is a band that I grew up with, and for them to evolve and just match where I'm at in life too, I think is why this record is so high up. And I'm talking about Alexisonfire, Otherness. So yeah, this is not a metal record. This is not even a post-hardcore record, which they once were. This is more just a rock, stoner rock album, but the amount of reverb and the soaring, swelling vocals from Dallas Green just continue to be amazing. Each song is so different, and I love the time durations on these songs. They range from being like 3 minutes to 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, and it just seems like an experimental record for a band that could have just done the safe route and made another Screamo album, but they didn't. They did something very refreshing, and I love it. It's almost like City in Color with distortion and aggression, and I love City in Color. So honestly, I love this record by Alexisonfire, possibly my favorite record from them, and it's Otherness. Number 4 is the most polarizing record of the year. Either people really like it or really hate it. Obviously, I really like it, and that's why it's number 4. I'm talking about Northlane, Obsidian. So yeah, I know the audience is divided on this record. For me, I like EDM music. I like drum and bass. I like house. I like dubstep. So I can get behind the sounds of this record. Going into it, if you're expecting, you know, metal riffs and breakdowns, you're obviously going to be disappointed because that's not what this record is about. To me, this is Northlane's first complete record from start to finish that feels like a piece of music, where every other album from them just feels like a collection of songs. Although Alien could be argued to feel like one cohesive piece, I do feel like Obsidian is that one giant piece of music that really feels like experience, which makes it harder to get into. But at the right time and place, this album hits, and that time and place for me is a night drive. Seriously, when I'm driving and I'm putting this album on, the sounds that it creates are so unique and weird. It's dancey and vibey. I'm not headbanging. I'm more vibing out to it with the repetition and everything. So I think that's why I just really enjoy the record and the sounds on it. If you don't like it, maybe try the instrumental version, because the instrumental version is really cool and shows, you know, all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes of the vocals. So yeah, I really like Northlane Obsidian. Number 3, I feel like, is one of the most overlooked records of the year. People have probably seen the name around but haven't decided to check it out. I feel like that's the consensus that I'm seeing amongst like the community. But yeah, if you check out this record, you might see why I like it so much. And I'm talking about Enterprise Earth, The Chosen. This is the best deathcore release of the year. Now, why I'm saying that is because it has variety. And I feel like a lot of deathcore releases, especially this year, lack variety, where Enterprise Earth, each song is distinct in style. That song has the thrashy element, that song has that crazy breakdown, that song is the very progressive metal song, that song is the metalcore song. That's what I love about this album. It's just fun in so many different surprising moments. It's a genre blend of a culmination of different ideas. It's a deathcore album, but it feels a little bit more than that. Honestly, this record is just a shit ton of fun. The riffs, the ideas, the surprises. I just have a lot of fun listening to this record, and there's so many memorable vocal hooks and lines that keep me interested too, and so many amazing guitar solos that each solo is different too. Yeah, I love this record, and again, I think it's the best deathcore release of the year.
I was nothing. I am nothing. The fuck?
Number 2, I would argue, is the most refined album on this list, and probably the most refined album I heard all year in terms of craftsmanship and pacing and everything. It's just such a well done record, and it didn't make my number 1 only because it's so challenging. It's not the easiest record to listen to, but holy crap, when I listen to it, I appreciate everything that's going into it. I'm talking about Norma Jean, Death Rattle Sing for me. Now, why this is number 2 is because it feels like one giant piece of music, and it gets very experimental. It gets very weird. But when it gets heavy, it doesn't sacrifice the heaviness. It's some of the heaviest music I've ever heard from Norma Jean, but it's also the most experimental. It's just a weird album, and it's not the most digestible record because it can get really odd at times. And I think that's why I appreciate it. Some of the interludes and some of the more quiet moments of the album hit just as hard as the heavy sections of music for me, but there's so many surprising moments. There's so many amazing riffs. Some of my favorite riffs I've heard all year are within this record. Vocally, they continue to improve. Structures, pacing, they continue to improve. Honestly, Norma Jean has been around forever, and they continue to age like fine wine. So all hail the almighty Norma Jean. All right, it's time for album of the year. And like I said at the beginning of this list, I did have a hard time figuring out my album of the year, but after some initial thought, I realized I cannot put this record down, and that's why it's the most deserving. This band might surprise you, might not even have heard of this band. I never even made a reaction video for this band, but after listening to their album, like I said, I cannot put this record down. I'm talking about Ithaca, They Fear Us. This is a metalcore band that mixes old 2000 metalcore stylings with shoegaze and pop elements. What makes this so special, I think, is just the pacing and the variety within each track. It's only 10 songs, so it's not too long, but it's not too short either. But each song is uniquely different from the next, but it doesn't lose the tone and theme of the record. It's still a very aggressive record, but also a very angelic record too at times. It just captures both soft moments and heavy aggressive moments really well, but the riffs are awesome. The solos are executed at the right time. What I like about this record is that when you're listening to it, I feel like you have an idea of where the song is going, but it goes into a completely different direction that is better than you originally thought. And that's why it's so good. It's like the band is like 1 or 2 steps ahead of what you're thinking it's about to do and does something even more exciting. So that's why pacing, structures, variety, riffs, vocals, it's just such a digestible record. It's not reinventing the wheel by any means, but overall, it's just such a solid start to finish album that, I cannot put this record down, and that's why Ithaca, They Fear Us is my album of the year. Oh man, the list, these videos are finally over for the year. Man, they're a lot of work, but they're worth it at the end because I'm really happy with these lists and how these videos come out. Like at the end, I just hope you find something new, a new band or a new song for you that's going to be like worth your time. You know, these are just my opinions. If you're upset that there's something missing, again, I can't help the way that I listen and feel about music. I just hope you found something new through these lists of mine. But guys, those are my top 25 best albums of the year. I'm curious to know what your album of the year is, so comment down below, spice up my life. Seriously, let me know what the album of the year is. I'd love to know. Guys, it's been a great year. It's been these videos are a lot of work. I might take a little break after this just to recoup, because yeah, I need a refresher after this, man. But if you want to chat with me about my albums, go on the Discord. We're doing a little bit of a tournament too, so that's going to be fun with all the albums I listen to, which all the Discord peeps are going to be participating in. But guys, I know it's 2023 when this video gets uploaded, but I'm still going to say Happy New Year. I hope 2023 is an even better year than 2022. But guys, thank you for the support. I appreciate all of you. But on that, thank you for tuning in. Till next time. Peace.